The morning sun spilled across the highway like molten gold, but for Arvin Hale it felt like the brightest day of his life was about to turn into his darkest. He was standing at a bus stop in freshly ironed clothes, holding a folder with his last hope tucked inside, a job application and a recommendation letter he had fought months to get. Everything about this day felt fragile, balanced on the edge of hope. But just as his bus approached, he heard the deafening screech of metal on asphalt, followed by a crash that shattered the morning calm. A motorcycle spun wildly across the road, sparks flying, and a man was hurled across the pavement like a rag doll. Without thinking, Arvin dropped everything and sprinted. He didn't know that saving a stranger's life would cost him the opportunity he had waited years for, or that the biker's friends would later return with a gift that would change everything. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and humanity, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Light of Kindness. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Arvin reached the injured biker, an older man in his late 50s with a grey beard, leather vest, and tattoos fading under layers of dust and blood. His breathing was shallow, his eyes fluttering in and out of consciousness. Cars honked, people stared, but no one dared get involved. Arvin knelt beside him, his hands trembling as he checked for a pulse. It was weak, fading, slipping. He pressed his hands to the man's wounds, slowing the bleeding just enough to keep him tethered to life. The man's cracked voice whispered something that barely carried across the chaos, something that sounded like, "Don't let me go." Arvin promised he wouldn't. When the ambulance finally arrived, Arvin was drenched in sweat and blood that wasn't his own, and his bus and his interview time were long gone. By the time the medics loaded the man into the ambulance and thanked Arvin for his quick actions, the reality hit him hard. His opportunity was gone. The company he had applied to was strict, known for dismissing late applicants without a second look. He tried calling, tried explaining, but no one picked up. The weight of failure sank deep inside him as he walked the long road home, his clothes stained, his morning ruined, and his future slipping through his fingers. It hurt even more because he wasn't just fighting for himself. His younger sister, Nara, depended on him. She had been his responsibility ever since their mother passed away and their father disappeared into his own despair. Arvin had held their small world together the best he could, but lately even that felt like it was crumbling. Emotion overwhelmed him so quickly he almost lost his footing. He looked at the bikers, unsure what to say, how to thank them, how to express the weight lifting off his chest. He tried to speak, but Brack raised a hand. "Don't thank us. You earned this. We're just giving you what you deserve." For the first time in weeks, months even, Arvin felt hope rising inside him, not a flicker, but a flame. The bikers stayed a while, sharing stories about Arden, telling him how the man always helped strangers and believed in balance, that kindness should never be punished. They told Arvin he reminded them of the kind of people the world needed more of. Their presence, tough but sincere, made Arvin feel like he wasn't alone anymore. The next morning, Arvin attended the interview at Faraday Engineering. This time, he walked in with confidence. The panel listened, asked thoughtful questions, and most importantly, acknowledged his courage. By the end of the hour, they offered him the job on the spot. Arvin felt his eyes sting with emotion as he shook their hands. He couldn't wait to tell Nara. When he returned home later that day, he found another surprise waiting for him. Arden, the man he had saved, was standing outside the building, leaning on a cane but smiling. His eyes were warm, alive, grateful beyond words. He hugged Arvin gently and thanked him, told him his life had been given a second chapter because of a stranger's bravery. Arvin responded with humility, but Arden just smiled and said, "Never shrink your light. The world needs people like you." Days passed, and life changed for Arvin and Nara. Their home felt warmer, their days felt brighter, and the weight that once hung over Arvin began to dissolve. He visited Arden often, becoming something of a brother to the biker club that had once seemed intimidating but now felt like family. They helped him repair things around his home, supported Nara's school needs, and invited him to community events. Arvin discovered that kindness didn't just ripple, it returned like a wave. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Light of Kindness. Your engagement helps more people see the beauty of humanity. Before you go, leave a special comment. Kindness always returns. Arvin's life didn't become perfect overnight, but it became meaningful, hopeful, and filled with people who believed in him. And every time he saw Arden or heard the rumble of motorcycles outside his building, he was reminded that saving a life had not taken something from him. It had given him a future he never imagined.